Did you know that Alcatel is one of the top handphone makers in the world? A bit surprising, I know. Well, it's because they tend to make very low-end sets which sell very well in parts of Asia and Africa. In fact, I believe that they are number 6 in terms of worldwide awareness, which obviously is pretty nifty. However, now they're trying to branch out into the higher end of phones. We've already seen the One-Touch Hero, which was really cool, having that little Bluetooth connecting phone and having that cover, which is also LED. So obviously that's the highest end in terms of specs and ability. So now we got something which is a little bit more lower range from Alcatel. As you can see right here, it's the One-Touch Idol S. There's also the Idol X as well, amongst other things. Let's focus on what we have right here. First off, this may be considered lower range, but I like it. I mean, just the design, as looking at it at face value, it feels nice in my hand. It's only 6.9 mm thickness, means it's really thin and it feels rugged and stylish at the same time as I'm holding it. So as you can see right there, it's pretty nifty. It's not too obtrusive, which you might see from that One-Touch Hero, for example. Right along the back, you may notice it's a rubberized panel. Pretty cool because it stops fingerprints. See, I'm putting my hands right there, and obviously it adds a slightly more stylish feeling. Just looking at the overall design before we actually look at the screen, let's just take a look at the sides. Got the power button there, we've got the SIM and a micro SD card slot there. Expandable storage. I always love expandable storage. I always say that. And on the other side, we can see exactly where you plug it in to charge it, and also the volume rocker right there. So obviously at the bottom, there's not much, and at the top, only thing right there is a headphone jack. That's it. Simple, nice. It's a unibody, which you might have guessed because they put the micro SD slot and the SIM card slot at the side, and it adds to a very nice package indeed. Now, underneath the hood, it's got average specs if you ask me. I mean, it's got a 1.2 GHz Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 Pro dual-core processor. It's okay, it's got 1 GB of RAM, and the storage itself is not much. It's only 4 GB, which is why we have that micro SD card right there, because you will really need it. Other devices might have 32 GB internal storage, but you might find yourself never using your external storage. With this one, you definitely will. There's no doubt about it. Now, I'm just looking at the screen. It's fantastic because it's a full HD IPS screen. It gives really nice contrast ratio. It's just superb. It really looks clear. Colors are rich. The tone is nice. A lot to love about this screen. However, it's a little bit laggy in terms of responsiveness. The tests conducted on this show, it's slightly behind the average, but I'm not going to complain too much. It still gets its job done. And just looking at the screen when you're not sliding across does make it stand out lovely. I mean, it's a good crystal clear screen. Bit let down by the internals though. Then again, like I said, this is the mid to low range phone, so you compromise in that sense. Not too much RAM, the processor isn't too great. It's sacrificing a little bit because it's LTE as well, but it definitely won't lag on you too much. I've got to talk a little bit about the interface as well. It's using Jelly Bean 4.2.1 and it's pretty nifty. The overlay isn't too obtrusive to the actual Google experience. The colors and the icons a little bit larger, a little bit warmer, as opposed to Google, which tends to make it a bit colder. So it's very fun to look at, it's fun to play with, and it hasn't got so much bloatware which you've seen on something like a Samsung device, and to an extent LG as well, amongst other brands. So thumbs up in that aspect. It's not as revolutionary though as something like the HTC devices we've seen with their Sense 5.0, which for me really does stand out. But for an Android experience, it'll definitely do the job. Now, one thing I should add is the camera here, it's 8 megapixels and it's not that great. It's not a catastrophe. I mean, in terms of shooting whites, it'll come out a little bit gray. If it's brightly lit like it is right now, the pictures will be pretty nifty. However, in low light settings, Well, no, not good, not good. It degrades a lot, let's just put it that way. The video isn't too shabby when shooting in HD, etc. And I was a bit impressed considering the quality of the pictures versus the video was a good little contrast. But perhaps I'm nitpicking a little bit. I gotta keep reminding myself, this phone may feel very stylish in my hands, it may feel very nice, but at the end of the day, it is a mid to low range price phone. In closing, I think that it's a pretty nifty little device. I mean, it looks stylish. It feels nice in your hands. The screen itself, IPS, we're talking 1280 by 720 pixels. I mean, it's really quite good in that aspect. However, the innards itself, well, like I mentioned, 1 GB of RAM, it doesn't really stand out. They had to sacrifice a little bit to make it a 4G set by going to Qualcomm, obviously. And, well, it's not too bad, but at 899 ringgit, that's one thing which I haven't mentioned yet, it is a good price point for this phone. The battery is 2000 mAh, I should add that, which is not good at all. You will definitely not make it through the day if you're an average user. If you don't use it much, perhaps you will. So you will suffer in that sense. But 899 for a 4G phone with a very nice display, which looks stylish, which feels nice in your hands with this rubberized back, which I've talked about, versus a not so good camera, versus a not so good battery life. There's pros and cons. I think this is a solid 2.5 out of 5. It knows its price range. It's not going to excel, but it's definitely something to look out for, bearing in mind it's less than 1,000 ringgit. Well below 1,000 ringgit, I should add. Okay, that's me done for this phone. On to the next one, eh?